I'm working on a 14 Dodge Journey. Customer said that they were at home. She went to start it. She pushed the button and all she heard was a bunch of clicking. And she said she saw some smoke coming out from this area over here. So we had it towed in. I got it in, I opened the hood and looked at it. I didn't see anything burnt. Everything looks pretty decent. So I went to hit the starter button and I did hear the starter act like it wanted to engage and just clicking. So maybe the starter was smoking a little bit. So in this video, I'm gonna show you how to diagnose a starter on your Dodge Journey. Let's get into it. The first thing we gotta do is get this car up in the air. And unfortunately on this car here, the starter, you have to remove the catalytic converter to get to it, which is a little bit of a pain in the butt. I believe I can get a wire up in there just enough so we can check it to make sure that the starter is definitely the issue. We have nothing else going on, like she was talking about earlier with the smoking wires over there. So like I was telling you earlier, in order to get that starter out, I got to take the converter out, this front motor mount, and the bracket. And there's the starter right up inside here, if you can see it. Looking at the starter, I think I may see why she saw some smoking on it, because it's oil drenched. This starter is drenched in oil, so it's got to have an oil leak somewhere dripping down on that starter, which probably shorted it out. I think I might be able to back probe something in there. Hold on a second. Let's get a better view here. Change the light situation. Come on. There's your starter, and you can see the oil dripping all over it right here. It's probably inside that motor. And there's the yellow wire. That's your signal wire that we're going to try to back probe or take off or figure something out and get to it. Let me come up with a plan of attack, and I will be back in a little bit. Try to show you what I've done. I took a pair of needle nose pliers and I took a little pocket screwdriver, and it's got a point on it because I use it for testing things or taking out pins and wiring. And what I've done is I hooked the jumper lead to it, and I went up there with like this. I went up there with the needle nose and I jammed it in the hole there, and I'm hoping I got it in far enough so when I hit that starter button, it'll show some volts. So I got my multimeter. I hooked the ground right over there off the battery. I got the other end to the jumper lead that goes to the starter. Make sure that you don't have this on any kind of metal when you go do the test because it could arc. I've got my meter set up and I've got my phone connected to my meter, so when I'm inside the car, I'll see what you guys are seeing. So I put my foot on the brake, let's hit the starter. We're getting 11.4, so I do have plenty of power going. So that activation wire is no reason why that thing shouldn't kick over. So I've had this meter now for about a little over a year. I really like it simply because I like the Bluetooth feature on it. I don't have to be looking at the meter to get the readings. You can get it right off your phone. There's plenty of meters out there that do it. You can go to Amazon and probably buy one for a lot less than I paid for this here. But if you're going to get a meter, try to find one with Bluetooth because like I said, it just makes your job a lot easier in the future. That's your pro tip for the day. All right, we've confirmed this thing. It is definitely a bad starter. I'm going to call the customer, see what they want to do, and I'll catch you in a bit. Make sure before you tackle your starter job, take the ground wire off. This one here is a 16. The converter is right over here. It's right off the exhaust manifold. The O2 sensor is on the top side here of it. Gotta make sure you take it and unplug that. Looking at it right down here, it looks like there's another O2 in the bottom, so we'll have to unplug that one also because I'm not going to unscrew the O2s. If you go to take the O2s out, all you're going to do is create issues and problems. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times the O2s, they just get seized up in there. You don't need to fight that. All right, that one's unplugged. They look like they're freaking 10s, to be honest with you. And imagine it's just going to be 4 of them. Probably would help if I looked up a diagram first, see how many bolts were in there, but we're going to wing it. It is a 10, and I'm going to use a speed wrench anyway. Although, you know what? I got it broken loose. I wonder. Got that one broken loose too. Try my electric ratchet. This 1/4 inch long neck has been my go-to for just about everything. It gets in all the places that you need to get in at. Probably not here though. Let's try something here. I'm going to try a swivel and a shallow 10. See what happens there. There's one. Get out of here. I need to play the lottery tonight because that wouldn't happen twice, I guarantee. If you look up in here, I'm gonna attempt to take it off, but these threads are like this side here. It's almost broken all the way through. I'm just gonna cut them off. There's no sense even trying to mess around with it because it's just gonna break. And when we go back, we'll go back with a nut and a bolt, which will be just fine. And you gotta be Houdini to get these other ones out. Holy shit! Oh, let's go ahead and cut these out and be done with it. So after reading up on it, the top two bolts are what hold it. The bottom half sits in a flange. And this crossover pipe here is kind of pushing it this direction, locking it in that flange. So I'm gonna take this crossover pipe off and it should loosen it up to be able to come out. That's kind of how I understand it. I mean, I've been known to read things wrong before, so, you know, if I'm wrong, wouldn't surprise me. Just ask my wife. All right, let me soak these bolts and nuts down here and we'll come back and take them off after they sit for a little bit, and then we'll see what happens. So believe it or not, a 9/16 fits this pretty daggone good. I've already tried to, it's rusted on there, so I'm gonna get a little bit of heat on it. If you got to break out your torch when you're doing it, just be careful. You don't want to burn nothing. End up lighting oil on fire or burn a brake line. Just be aware of what's around you. Ooh, hot, hot. Mother bumper's hot. Probably because it just had torch on it, right? Woo. I'd be using a speed wrench, but I don't have any Americans. Everything I got is metric. That needs to be the next thing I purchase. I don't know why I've never had American speed wrenches, I only have metric. Probably because half everything I do is in metric. Come on, man. Whew. The other side is sleeved. It's got a sleeve that kind of wraps around the whole thing. It's gonna come in from the back side. Looks like maybe a 15. We'll loosen it up and it should slide right on down. All right, that little ratchet is jack crap. Try and get on here with a big one now. Come on, man, get on here. Damn. Should be enough. All right. All right, we got the flange loose, got these bolts out. Now we gotta get this bracket off. Come on, man. Let's see, are we getting anywhere? Don't look like it, does it? Like it's still jammed on there. We're so close. Nah, you know what? I ain't gonna dick with this anymore. We're going back with nuts and bolts here. All right. We are going back with nuts and bolts. Make sure don't lose any of your gaskets. Can definitely be reused. When you go back with it, we'll take a little bit of high temp RTV and put on there and it'll be just fine. All right. So this is what I was talking about. There's a little, see the wedge right here? it fits in a flange right up there, and I'll show you in a second. And then you just get this loose enough to where it moves out of the way, and then it just slips up. This is the flange I'm talking about right here that it rests in. This is another gasket, which is fine. You don't need to replace that either. But there's your starter right there. All right, next up, we gotta get the motor mount out and the motor mount bracket that goes to the block so we can get the bolts of the starter out. I'm gonna use a dead arm and kind of put it under the engine to secure it. If you're doing it at home, you're probably gonna have to use a jack, maybe a block of wood or something. Just be careful, because you don't want to take a chance. And when you're down here and you got your hands here and there's no mount, that engine will shift around on you and you could get hurt. I think it's time to change my contacts. Good Lord, I can't see nothing. The bolt going through the mount is a 15. There's a bolt here and a bolt here that hold the mount in place. These are 16. It should be loose. All right, it is loose. All right, once you get to this point, let's go ahead and loosen up the bolts that hold the mount on to the engine. They're a 16 also. The last one right here, we're going to use a speed wrench on. And the mount should just slide out. And that's the assembly right there. And by doing that, we expose the 2 starter bolts. If you think about it, that's a hell of a way to get a starter off. All right, let's go ahead and unplug the connectors now from the starter. All right, let's go ahead and get the 2 starter bolts out. We'll get it down and we'll bench test it. These look like about a 16 also. Might be able to get them up my deep well, but I doubt it. Nope. Nope, they're a 15. God, it's one oily car. I was telling the customer when I was talking to him earlier that there was a lot of oil on top of the starter. It's got to be leaking up there somewhere. It's probably what messed it up. He didn't say that he noticed oil in the driveway or nothing, but if you look, I mean, it's saturated all down here. She's loaded with oil. When you're bench testing it, ground the starter, take your positive side, and jump the 2 right here. Nothing. Unless I got a bad ground. That's possible. Yeah. See it, watch it engage. And that's what it's doing on the car. It's engaging and not spinning. All right, we just got the starter in. It's from O'Reilly's. They're not a sponsor of this video. I just purchased their parts. Although I wouldn't mind if they decided they want to sponsor the video, or any videos. It'd be kind of cool, huh? All right, the part number is a 402735. It's a reman with a lifetime warranty, which means I'll probably replace it about 13 times. Unfortunately, the new one was a little bit pricey for the customer, so this is what they decided to go with. But I think we'll be all right. Well, I know what, after this week, when that Snapple man comes today, I've definitely got some warranty things to send back. Seems like every one of my tools wanted to take a dump this week. From lights to electric ratchets to sockets to damn near everything. As soon as my daughter got out of for Chris's break out of school, she was sick the whole week. And this is a carryover from the sickness that was during Thanksgiving. My daughter brought it to our house, my oldest daughter, well, my middle daughter. And now my wife has it, second week. We have been, thank the Lord, I haven't really had it, but a little bit of it. I don't want to mess with none of that crap. All right, not sure where I left off. I had a good buddy of mine come in. I've known, probably 50 years. So yeah, I'm not actually 39 years old. I'm closer to 60 some. But he came in and he's the one that's got that Camaro here I'm working on. If you haven't checked out the videos on this, go check them out, how we got to this point. But we're getting ready to get close to paint. We're going to put the front end on it now, and we're going to paint it. This is going to be the color. And with ghost stripes black on it. It's going to look really nice, actually. It really is. Everything on it's new. New quarters, the doors. It's just everything is new. The roof is original. On the bumper, we took it and refabbed it up. Looks kind of cool, actually. So if you haven't checked out any of those videos, go check them out. It's about 4 or 5 videos showing you how we got to that point. All right, let's get back on this turd. I mean, this fine automobile. All right, so what we're going to do is go ahead and hook up the starter electrical. When you do your electrical and your starter, and I'm the worst person to give advice on this, you should always do them by hand with a hand ratchet. I've used electrical before and I've snapped them off. The stud coming out. All right, once we get this tight here, I'll go ahead and get the mount put in. Don't overkill it. Like I said, you want to break that stud. All right, next thing we'll do is get the mount back up in there. The long bolt, I went ahead and stuck it in now. I mean, it came out earlier, but I figured it'd be just easy just to put it in now. I think that's the one I'd use a speed wrench to get off on, to be honest with you. Get a good habit of when you're putting things back together, if at all possible, just to get things hand tight first. Not necessarily torque everyone as you go. Just makes it easier when you're lining things back up. Once you got the bolt started, go ahead and take the dead arm out or whatever it is you're using. I think the most BS on this job is going to be the damn exhaust system. Making you have to do what you just did in order to take it down is a joke. But before I go up with that catalytic converter, I'm going to heat these up and we're going to knock out the studs here and I'm going to go back with nuts and bolts. I had a 50-50 shot of getting that one right. And I guessed wrong. Don't play the lottery tonight. Damn, they need a spot on this truck. My tools are going to need a freaking pressure washing after working on this car. So how many of y'all out there faithfully clean your tools after every job? I know I do. If you don't, it's a good habit to get into. If you use an electric ratchet, make sure you go back with a hand ratchet and check it and make sure everything got good and tight. We now have German specs good and tight. All right, let me get it set up and we'll get these things taken care of. Better get my safety glasses on me. New set of torches here, or the fittings are new anyway. I need to kind of get used to it. Sucking air somewhere. Where do you put the pliers? Back? One down, 3 more to go. All right, while we're waiting for that pipe to cool down, we're gonna go ahead and get the catalytic converter back in place. Remember, it just goes up, comes, you spin it, and it locks in. And it gets get out of the way. Stay. And again, the same thing with the catalytic converter. Don't tighten it up all the way. We'll just get it started. And I don't trust that bitch at all. All right, lower the car down. We'll go down here and try and get these lined up. Let's see. All right, bingo. We'll go ahead and reuse that paper gasket I was telling you about. To put a little bit of red RTV on the gasket. Leave them loose. Clean your hands off. The front doesn't really need anything. It's actually beveled. When you're doing the nuts and bolts, make sure you go back with washers also. When you're doing one with the flange fitting on it, kind of don't tighten one side up all the way. Work it back and forth and keep it kind of equal. The last one is the sleeve up here. I loosen that up so we have some extra play. Let's go ahead and get it tight. Let's lower it down, put it the ground wire, start her up. All right, does it start? Oh, we have liftoff. He's got every light on up there, the ABS, traction control, tire monitor. But the only thing we were doing was the starter. That's it for this video. Appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Catch you later.